and welcome to Pilates Mat Work. This is lesson 4 in the beginner course. Quite a lot of upper body work involved in the class today. The theme really is about finding neutral position in mid-air. We've made a start on that with our side bends and our shoulder bridge, and we're going to use the first part of the shoulder bridge today to loosen out the back and just get nicely warmed up, and we'll revisit it later on in the class. So let's lie down on our backs, let's stretch out the legs, let's think about our core muscles, our breathing. Let's think about the principles of Pilates. So just do a body scan while you're lying here and breathing. And look out for any areas of tension. So some of us hold a lot of tension in our face, for example, neck, shoulders, lower back. Just check that your lower back is feeling okay. And lengthen out through the legs. Just reach away with those feet. Lengthen out through your arms. Lengthen out through your neck just by drawing the chin slightly towards the chest. So we know that the pelvis is in neutral position when we're lying with our legs stretched out. As you exhale, feel how the pelvic floor starts to lift perhaps, lower belly drawing back. Hold on to those muscles, just a gentle contraction, so that as you inhale, the breath will move up into the rib cage. So starting to concentrate then, bring the mind to the body. Get the breath to flow, and so that the next time you exhale, you can go ahead, bend your knees one leg at a time. Feet a little bit closer to your body than you would normally have them for the shoulder bridge. Let's again lengthen through the arms. We're just going to start with a pelvic tilt. So inhale to prepare, and as you exhale, almost stretch the tailbone away as you tuck, scoop and hollow, and then inhale and come back to your neutral position. And we can keep doing that, but we're just going to take another couple of vertebrae off each time. So as you exhale, draw the tailbone away, scoop, hollow the belly, and maybe the waist might lift this time, and then come back down. And you've got about 4 or 5 more breaths to get up into shoulder bridge. So I'll tell you something about how your back's feeling today. Now the whole time you need to make sure that the head and shoulders don't move. So stretch away with the tailbone rather than sliding back. Let the belly scoop and hollow. And I want you also to think about holding a small ball between the knees, making sure you don't drop it as you peel further away. So some of you with tight quads, front of thigh, or tight into the hip flexor area, you will find that the knees want to wander out to the side as you go higher and higher. So if you just hold on to that ball between the knees, you'll feel a good stretch. You may not be able to go up very high to start with, but later on in the class you may be, once we've had a little bit of a stretch, once we've warmed up a little. Keep reaching the chin slightly towards the chest so that we hold that length through the neck. And just starting to think about how it feels. Be aware of the glutes starting to do some work, and the hamstrings, of course, warming up those muscles. Think about the string of pearls. Each vertebra is one pearl moving individually off the dressing table as you pick that string of pearls up. And now finally we're going to lay all the way back down. And we'll be coming back to that later on. Okay, we got one more time. And I just want you to hold it up at the top for a moment. And I want you to think about your neutral pelvis. So the pubic bone is slightly higher than the hip bones because we're on a diagonal line. I want you to soften a little through the ribs so that you're not pushing up, especially those of you who are tight into the hip flexors. Quite often nothing's going on here because you haven't lifted the tailbone up enough, and you're overextending into the lower back, so you'll probably feel it in the lower back as well, and you're pushing up too high with the ribs. So just press firmly down through to the toes. Stretch the tailbone away and up a little. Soften through the rib cage a little. Keep holding on to the core, and you will feel the glutes, the hamstrings working. And then smoothly, let's roll all the way back down. Check that you're in a good neutral position, even if that means lifting your head. Think about the space between the waist and the mat. We're going to start with 100, so whenever you're ready, inhale to prepare into the rib cage, and as you exhale, let one leg float up. The next time you exhale, let that second leg float up as well. You can always bring it down if you start to struggle. Let's lengthen through the arms. Pump the arms up and down for 5 as you inhale, and 5 as you exhale. Now really pull up firmly through the pelvic floor, pulling that lower belly back, and that will support your lower back, keep the pelvis in a good neutral position. If you want to try coming up with the upper body, the next time you exhale, you lift, and you just tuck the chin without tucking the tailbone. So if it starts to get too tough for you, bring the toes of one leg down. If it starts to get too tough for your neck, take the head and shoulders down. You can always come back up. Staying lightly lifted to the tip of the shoulder blades. Check. Pubic bone, hip bones, more or less on the same plane, as long as it's comfortable for your lower back. Some of you may have to make a very slight adjustment. We're talking millimeters. Drop the shoulders. Lengthen through the arms again. Tuck the chin. Make sure you're breathing. One more. It's called the 100 incidentally, because by the time you've given me 10 complete breaths, you've pumped the arms up and down 100 times. Just draw those thighs in a couple of times. Let your head roll from side to side if you need to. And then we're going to move on to a side bend. So take your feet down. Just roll over onto your side. Prop yourself up onto your forearm. So elbow under shoulder, shoulder, hip, heels, the same distance from the edge of the mat. Get nicely lifted through the waist. Just think about a nice long waist, both sides here. Line of vision probably straight ahead of you is going to be best. And the next time you exhale, let's see if we can just float our body up. You can reach alongside your ear as long as you keep the shoulder away from the ear, or simply have your fingers to the ceiling, and then we inhale back down. Keep the ear and the shoulder on this right side here a constant distance away. So make sure you don't just let your head hang, make sure you're not pulling your head too high. Be aware of how your neck and shoulder feel throughout, and make small adjustments. This right arm is very active, okay? So belly touching. May take about 3 more today. So working all the muscles that wrap themselves around the body on the right side. So if you're mirror imaging me, you're on your right forearm. It's all the muscles around the right side of the body working hard here. Please take breaks whenever you need to. Get that left shoulder away from the ears as well. And imagine you're moving between 2 sheets of glass. So just floating up and then smoothly back down. And the core muscles, of course, keeping the pelvis nice and stable. So let's come all the way down. Side leg series. I've got side leg scissors for you today. So the legs are going to be just, well, you should see the top of the feet. Even when your toes are pointed, you should be able to see the top of the feet there. You may need to have your fingers resting on the mat today. Let's get a little bit of a lift through the waist. And then the next time you exhale, lengthen out through all the muscles of both legs. Feel the length through the waist. Core muscles are working to stop the legs flying back behind you. Top leg lifts to hip height. The next time you exhale, you're going to move that leg forward. Don't be too overambitious. And then you're going to switch legs. So don't think too much about range. Just start to scissor the legs and see how much range you have, so long as you have stability. You stretch the legs away. You're drawing little equals signs on the wall straight ahead of you. So you really do need to lengthen right the way through the spine, through both sides of the body, and right out through to those toes. If you get cramp, you just pull those toes up a little. So breathing into the rib cage so that you can maintain a core contraction. So you can imagine you have a little right grape here. You don't want to squash it. You can imagine you have a little glass of water right here, fingers resting on the mat. You can take as many breaks as you need, okay? You may find that just 3 or 4 sets is enough at this stage. We're going to have 1 more set. And then we're going to release I'm going to come up and just spin yourselves around. I want you to come up onto all fours here. And I want you to have your wrists underneath your shoulders, and I want your knees underneath your hips. And I just want you to think about lengthening from the crown of the head right the way through to the tailbone. And I want you to breathe into the rib cage. I want you to drop the pelvic floor and just lift the belly. And just play around with the position of the shoulder blades, just by letting your upper body move down a little and then back up. And really you want to be somewhere between the two extremes so that your shoulder blades are flat against the rib cage. And we're going to just think about the same with the tailbone. Lift the tailbone up a little. Feel how you sink through the lower back and then tuck under a little. Feel the stretch, and then I want you to find somewhere in the middle. So you have a little puddle of water in the small of the back. And just to challenge those core muscles before we come on to a couple of exercises a bit more challenging, I want you to push down through one hand and the opposite leg and feel what goes on with the torso muscles. Come back through the center as you inhale, and as you exhale, push down through the other two limbs. So you shouldn't be moving, but you should feel some work going on here. So we're taking the weight off two limbs as we push down through the other two. And then if you're feeling confident, perhaps you might be able to move the two limbs and then bring them back. And then we can see if we can do that on the other side. Keep the shoulders away from the ears. Just think about moving them without moving your spine. And if that's all going well, you might be able to raise them up higher without the little puddle of water in the small of the back spilling. Stretch the leg rather than trying to lift it. When you come back down, you have to get your balance first before you go anywhere. Then, if your limbs are free to move, stretch that leg away, lifting up. And this is a very good drill for when we come to the prone leg pull down, which comes after the swan dive. It's just a little bit of a warm-up for the back. Let's take one more, and for the legs and the glutes. But we're looking more here rather than extension, just maintaining neutral position. Okay, good. Let's lie down. Let's get a foot either side of the mat. Let's have the arms in a U shape. Let's stretch wide with the elbows and get those shoulders just lifted and rolled back a little. Forehead on the mat. Let's press down through the pubic bone. A little bit of coordination today. The next time you inhale, your upper body floats up. And as you exhale, I want you to stretch your legs and bring your upper body down. So a little bit like the base of a rocking chair, just smoothly moving up as you inhale with the upper body, up with the legs as you exhale. And check that you're not tensing up the belly and pushing it out into the mat. Lift the navel, press down through the pubic bone. So later on there can be a lot more movement with the swan dive. At this stage, strengthening up the back muscles. Feel all the work around the shoulder blade area. Try not to pull those elbows back, and try not to let the elbows pop up ahead of the hands. Just give me one more. Don't tense the belly. And last time with the legs. And then let's release. Let's just sit back briefly to stretch out your back. And so prone leg pull down, also known as a plank, but we do move it in Pilates eventually with the legs. Today we want to look at setting up in some detail. So let's come down onto the forearms. I want to save the wrists. Elbows under shoulders, and we're just going to move our knees back until we feel that we're in a nice long line from the crown of the head to the tailbone. So we don't want our hips sagging here, but we don't want the tailbone lifted too high either. So you can use a mirror to help you perhaps, or get somebody to tell you when you are in the correct place, because you will remember, you remember how it feels. Look down and get the length through the neck, and that will go a long way to helping you get the lower back position correct. Watch that you're not hunching up into the upper back or sagging. And you're just going to breathe into the rib cage. So you can maybe lift the tailbone a little and pull the tailbone under, and then just find a midpoint where you feel that your back is comfortable and your core muscles are working rather than just your upper body. So just make sure that you're not taking it all through the upper body. And then if you're feeling confident, that little puddle of water in the lower back, make sure no water spills. Push the heels. This isn't so much about lifting the knee, it's stretching the heel out until the knee comes up, and then bring that knee back down. Now think about your upper body. You'll feel the upper body doing a little bit more work as you take the knee off the ground. So use your core, pull up the pelvic floor. Nice stretch for the calf muscle there if you push that heel right back. And let's try the other side. So I know it's quite hard for the upper body. If you feel it in the lower back, you need to adjust the position of the pelvis or take a break. Let's take one more set. There's no need to move the legs at all, by the way. You might find that you're working hard enough not moving. And now let's just sit back and stretch out. So quite tough on the upper body. So let's lie down on our side now and take scissors and side bends on this side. So make sure you can see the top of the feet, otherwise you need to use your core muscles a little bit more if your feet have flown back behind you. Let's get the ripe grape between the waist and the mat. As we exhale, we stretch our legs and they float up. Then that top leg, the next time you exhale, lifts more or less to hip height. And then we're going to bring that leg forward a little, and then we're going to scissor the leg. So a little bit of counterbalancing from that lower leg to help you. Now, you can rest your fingers on the mat. Sometimes we're more wobbly one side than the other, and that's perfectly normal. Just tend to have a much more dominant side, some of us. So again, don't get carried away with range or even repetitions at this stage. The beginner stage really is to familiarize you with the appropriate exercises for this level and get you to really think about the setup for all of the exercises. We can work much harder later on. So always take a break if you're finding that you're starting to struggle. Keep reaching out. Okay, I think just one more will do. So inside thighs, getting a little bit of workout here as well as the outside thigh. And core muscles are working to hold your pelvis in neutral. Okay, let's come into our side bend position. Try and get a nice long spine. Heel, hips, shoulders nicely lined up. And then as we exhale, when you're ready, lift up and then smoothly touch down. And again, as many repetitions as you're able, but making sure that the exercise is very precise. So lifting, just opening out a little through the side of the spine with these side bends, and working all the muscles that wrap themselves around the left side of the body this time. And again, lift and stretch, and smoothly coming down. And again, lifting and stretching. And perhaps one more. And so when you've finished, I just want you to sit yourself up. You can circle out the shoulders a couple of times, shake it out. And now let's lie down on our backs, ready for shoulder bridge. And this time we're going to work a little bit harder. The shoulder bridge, apart from mobility for the spine, very much strength for the glutes and the hamstrings. Now we've already practiced rolling up and coming back down. Visual string of pearls, okay? Each pearl moves one at a time, and that's how I need your spine to move. So get the length through the neck, engage your core. You can do this on an exhalation so that you can really scoop and hollow. Press down through the feet, stretch the tailbone away as you peel away. Don't drop the ball between the knees. Keep stretching away. Let's get some weight down into the balls of the feet and the toes. And for feedback, I want you to rest your fingertips on your hip bones. Okay, your neck is totally relaxed. The next time you exhale, I want you to push down through one foot. Don't let anything move in the pelvis, and see if you can lift the heel of the other foot. You inhale as you bring that heel down, shift your body weight, push down firmly, and then see if you can lift the other heel. So you've got to really push down through the foot to get the muscles to work in the glutes and the hamstrings. And use your core muscles as well. You won't necessarily be thinking about those, but I need you to use them all of the time. If you get cramp, roll down and just stretch your leg up in the air, grab hold of it and give yourselves a hamstring stretch. Watch that your hips aren't rocking and rolling. Later on, when we lift the foot up, we can stretch the foot all the way up towards the ceiling, and that is another part of the exercise. It does stretch out the hamstrings. Pelvic floor lifted, belly scooping and hollowing, nice and smoothly. And one last set, I think. I think that will do. Make sure that you're not pushing up through the ribs. You lift the tailbone and stretch it away. And then from here, we're going to roll down smoothly. Remember your string of pearls. So let's inhale. And as you exhale, tuck, scoop, hollow, and smoothly rolling down. Another challenging exercise coming up. So from here, hug your thighs in and roll yourself up. Stretch the legs out, some more upper body work. So if you feel it too much into your shoulders and your elbows, you will be taking your fingers out like this and taking your arms wider. Otherwise, best position for the hands is to have the fingers facing straight ahead, wrists and shoulders lined up. So, a little bit more work for all the muscles, your glutes and your legs, for example. Nice stretch for the shoulders. As you exhale, press down through the fingertips as well. Push down through the heels, top of the feet and ankles facing the ceiling. We lift, and then see if you can just lift the tailbone up and line up into a nice neutral position without pushing your belly up. If you get cramp, pull those toes back. We need to very slowly come down. Watch those shoulders stay away from the ears, roll them back, and then exhale and up you go again. So working, as I say, back of the legs and glutes, back of upper arm. You should feel the triceps working a lot here. And it can be tough on the wrists and the shoulders and the elbows, so please listen to your body. We're going to take maybe 2 more will do, maybe 2 more. This is where you need to really watch that your shoulders don't pop up to your ears. Lift up with the tailbone and smoothly down, and then let's just take one last one, and reach and stretch. Hold it there for a moment if you can. Let's think about neutral. Up with the tailbone, stretch it away, pull back navel to spine, and then smoothly down. That is a really tough exercise. If you only manage one of those, that's fine. You've got something to build on. We're going to take a roll up now. So, when you're ready, if you know you can go all the way down and get all the way back up, you just go for it. Otherwise, I'm going to soften through the knees a little to start with. Inhale to prepare, and as you exhale, you tuck and scoop, so you give me a pelvic tilt. You can hold behind the thighs. You can inhale here, and then as you exhale, you can roll it back up. You can stretch your legs, and you can reach for your toes. Draw those shoulders back. Inhaling, sitting up. So as you exhale, you can soften through the knees if you need to. You can hold on to your thighs still, that's absolutely fine. You can pause here, rely on your arms a little bit more, scoop the belly, breathe into the rib cage, and then as you exhale, you're coming up. You're going to stretch the legs, and you're going to reach and stretch. Coming back up to the top. Soften if you need to. Scoop and hollow. If you think you might be able to go a little bit further, if not all the way, give it a go. When you take the arms back behind you, just draw those ribs back a little. Inhale. Now as you exhale, if you need to, hold on to your thighs. Use your arms to help you up. Let's stretch out those legs. Scoop the belly. Draw the shoulders back and reach. Restacking, coming up to the top. If you couldn't get back up, by the way, you know you just go halfway. We've just got 2 more. Scoop the belly. If you don't need to hold on to your legs, that's fine. For some of you with nice mobile spines, you'll probably find that this isn't so much of a challenge. And those of you who've got slightly stiff backs, you might find with each repetition that it gets a little bit easier and easier. So, last time, scoop, hollow, smoothly down. Raise the arms. Exhaling. All the way up. Keep the shoulders back. Up and over. And release. Okay, we use those abdominal muscles now as we come to our final exercise, push-ups. So you can have your knees back as far as you're able to maintain a nice neutral spine. So your knees need to be somewhere behind your hips. And as this is quite a hard exercise for the upper body, and this is a beginner level, you might want to have them really only just behind your hips. Look down, hands nice and wide. Your head is between your hands rather than between your wrists. Shoulder blades flat against the rib cage. Relax your legs. When your core muscles engage, you're just going to bend the elbows. You smoothly come down. It's almost as though you're moving forward. If you feel that you're moving back, you're getting it all wrong, okay? Don't worry about how low you go. Let's keep it nice and stable from crown of the head to the tailbone. Let's try and keep those shoulder blades flat against the rib cage. Let's try and keep the pelvis very, very stable. Let's go for about 5. I inhale down, and I exhale up. But you can breathe any way you like. You might find that as you work harder, it's easier to reverse the breathing. Now let's just sit back. A lot of the breathing changes as the exercises become more advanced. So, if you've had enough, just stay here and relax. If you want to come up for another 5, then let's do another 5. Now, again, I want you to really focus. Look down at a point on the ground. Stay focused on that point as you come down, and then push yourself back up. What you don't want to do is this. So my head now is between my wrists. I've moved back, and that actually isn't going to work my arms very much at all. Core muscles engaged. Smoothly down. And smoothly up. 1 or 2. 1 or 2 more. Entirely up to you. Listen to your body. If you can go further down, go further down. If that's all too much for you, just a small bend will do. Upper body strength, shoulder pelvic stability, core strength. Sit back. Rest your forehead on your hands. Breathe deeply and relax. Well done, good work.